Hello, everybody. My name is Star Raptor, and welcome to the channel. This is a live chat where we're going to be talking about all things Xbox. There's so much news coming out that it's hard to keep up with it all. So we're going to kind of go over the highlights from the last couple weeks, talking about everything from the Bethesda deal to pre-orders to Game Pass to the new memory cards. It's going to be an awesome conversation. I couldn't do it by myself, so I brought along my buddies Johnny and JT. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Awesome. So it should be live right now. Are you guys seeing it?
Yep,
Are
we're
we
up.
live? We are live. Oh, we are live. Oh, awesome. Okay, so we're gonna start with the biggest news first. Let's chat about Xbox buying Bethesda. I mean, it was on a random Monday. I had a feeling that Xbox had something up their sleeve because they kind of had their sales deflated when it leaked that they were getting the Xbox Series S like a week before they wanted to actually reveal it officially. They had videos all ready to go, and it kind of let the wind out of their sails a little bit. And I thought, Sony came out, they had their pre-orders, their big hype engine was created with, showing footage for Miles Morales. And I was thinking, Xbox, I feel like they have one more weapon in their arsenal to get people hyped up. And long and behold, it was the day before pre-orders, and they just put out the bomb. I literally just clocked into work, and I just checked my phone, and I looked down, and I was like, whoa, this is huge. I was like, let me go to the bathroom real quick and read this article, because this is insane. And that's what I kind of did. And I was like on cloud nine the rest of the day at work, like just talking to all my coworkers about, oh my gosh, do you know what this means for the gaming industry? Where were you guys when the news broke? What was your reaction to the news, this megaton news breaking?
I'm pretty sure it was in the morning when I heard about it. I actually think JT was the one who originally shared the article with me. He sent me a quick text. It had to be like 10 o'clock, something like that, just getting out of bed kind of scenario. And I just remember my jaw just dropping on the floor because there's, like you said, this is huge news.
Yeah, what about you, JT?
Yeah, I mean, I think I probably saw it on Twitter first. I don't remember if it was Twitter or you that I saw it from. But yeah, I mean, again, my first reaction was to screenshot it and send it to you guys. I sent it to our group chat. I sent, the articles of Pete Hines, him talking about it. It was it's a big move. It feels like an Xbox move because I think right before the One X came out, I think is when Xbox bought Obsidian, and right before the One came out itself is when they bought Rare. So I think it's starting to be an Xbox move that at like the turn of a generation, or at like an upgrade point on a current generation, they're going to be doing this move to buy a third-party studio.
Yeah, it's definitely something that Xbox needed. I feel like this is a big win for Xbox because these are beloved studios, and it's adding so much more talent to the Xbox first party. Like, you talk about just expanding the first party. Look at this. Look at this image here. This is a beautiful image. 343. You got World's Edge, you got the Coalition, you got Compulsion Games, you got Double Fine, Xbox Studios, The Initiative, In Exile, Mojang, Ninja Theory, Obsidian, Playground Games, Rare, Turn 10. Then you got Undead Labs, Arcane, Machine Games, ZeniMax, Bethesda, id, Tango Gameworks, Alpha Dog, and Roundhouse. Like, that is impressive. That is 23 studios of first-party games, and so many of those, like, were just great hits. Like, I mean, the new Doom games are incredible. Like, they are just so fun. It seems like Xbox is really going to be like that first-person action shooter. Like, they are going to be known for that as well as the RPGs. I mean, come on. You got the makers of Elder Scrolls and Fallout, and coupled with the guys that were from Obsidian. Like, there's already rumors like, oh yeah, let's get the version 2 or whatever of New Vegas. So that to me is just like that has so much clout. Like, you can't. I know people have been saying it, and they probably were rightly so saying that, Xbox, where's the games, Xbox. Well, you can't come up with that argument anymore. You can't come up with that question because it doesn't exist anymore.
Mhm. But yeah, I mean it's huge, and I mean I think I forget if it was from not Jeff Keighley. Who's the head of Xbox?
Phil Spencer.
Phil Spencer. It was either a I think it was a Phil Spencer text, but this acquisition um, added something like 2,300 or 2,800 or something employees to Xbox. So that's a huge number of you know, developers. You know?
Yeah, I think the worry is a lot of times when you have these like mega corporation acquisitions is sometimes stuff gets consolidated and unfortunately people lose their jobs. But Xbox
Yeah.
so far has not been known for that at all. Everybody that kind of comes under their umbrella has a lot of success because Xbox lets them kind of have free reign with their studios. And if anything, it just helps them because it gives them more resources and it gives them, and we're going to talk about this in a whole nother topic, like so much more visibility on the gaming platform with Game Pass. Like it's huge for these people. So, what do you have to say about all these studios coming to Xbox? Especially like what studio do you like the most, Johnny? Out of all these new acquisitions from Arcane to all these guys, which one do you like the most out of all these studios?
I don't know if you saw my reaction when you were talking about Doom, but it's definitely ID. I've
Yeah.
been a big Doom fan as far as I can remember being a little kid playing the original Doom games. I remember playing Doom 3. I was like
Uh-huh.
10 years old, being scared out of my mind, playing that in the dark room. And, I've always been a fan of those horror games, especially Doom is just one of those games that's just the violence in it. It's just to the point where it's just almost absurd. Um, so I think that's one of my favorite companies that they acquired recently. Um, and then you were mentioning other games. Wolfenstein's one I definitely want to bring up because I consider that on the same level as Doom. Just rather than killing demons, you're just doing it to Nazis instead. And let's be honest, with everything going on, who doesn't want to do that?
Yeah, really. Oh man, I recently played through some of the Machine Games, Wolfenstein games. They are a treasure that I don't think, and unfortunately, a lot of these Bethesda games are the same way. Like, you don't hear a lot of people talking about that or games like Dishonored, and I think they are hidden gems for a lot of people. And now, like I said, you get them on Game Pass. People are gonna check them out, and just like everything that Bethesda does is really good quality. It's just a shame that people just
Yeah.
don't play some of these games. Like I'll be honest, I haven't played Dishonored 2 yet, but this news has me hyped up to go and play that. I
Oh yeah.
try to play.
Definitely.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. The first Dishonored is definitely definitely top five. All-time favorite stealth games out there for me. I love it. Dishonored 2, it's a little bit overwhelming for me. It's still great though. It feels great to play. It's just, so many side things to do, which isn't a bad thing. It's just, overwhelming if that's not what you're looking to do at the moment. Um, but yeah, and didn't we, me and Johnny, we just played through Wolfenstein Youngblood a couple months ago. We just
Yeah.
finished that up. That was a
Ye-
time.
I wouldn't really recommend that one
No.
to people, though. It's a good Wolfenstein game, but at the same time, it felt like a step back in the series compared. Like, if you're coming from Wolfenstein 2 and then you jump into Youngblood,
Yeah.
it just felt wrong.
It
So
felt
hopefully they're able to save
Youngblood-
themselves with 3.
Yeah, Youngblood is definitely meant to be played with a buddy, and you're just having fun and goofing around. That's what Youngblood is for.
I had serious problems with that game. Like I raged. One of the worst times of 2020, like raging on a game, was me and my friend Teddy, and we were playing that game. And I don't know, I didn't realize that you can go into areas where the enemies were like super high level compared to you. So we
Oh,
kept
yeah.
like running into the same place, thinking that like the objective was like on the other side, and it wasn't. Like there's many problems with that game, and I ended up beating the game by myself because it was like, dude, I'm gonna just power through this game, and I did it, and it was just not that satisfying. Like, yeah, you're right. You play 2, and it's very story driven. Where this game is almost like a Destiny like game, where you're like going in and out of zones. They did that little
Yeah.
experiment, but I'd like to just see a full-fledged Wolfenstein 3. But let's get into the conversation that a lot of people have been talking about. I mean, you spend $7.5 billion on a studio. Are you going to make some of these games exclusive, or are you going to try to kind of recoup on some of that cash that you spent for having these on other platforms other than Xbox platforms? What do you guys have to say about that?
So I recall reading an article actually talking about how they're going to be looking at that case by case, basically. So from what I gathered with that, is games that they've already announced. For example, like Elder Scrolls 6. I'm assuming that's going to come out for both consoles. But then going in the future, games that haven't been mentioned at all, they're going to start considering making those just Xbox. So they're kind of just extending the olive branch and going, here's one last game for everyone to enjoy, but don't expect this in the future, basically.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm not even really sure if Elder Scrolls actually ever officially announced like the systems it was going to be on. But you got to figure that they were probably like working at least on some kind of PlayStation version or something. And what happens now? It's just like, oh, the team that's working on PlayStation, you guys just work on Xbox or PC now. Like, it's definitely interesting because they have. It's worth mentioning they have two exclusives. I think they're timed exclusives coming to the PS5 like around launch window. They have Deathloop, which is made by Arcane, so the guys that did Dishonored, it looks very much like that. And they have Ghostwire Tokyo, which I don't remember what that game looks like. I haven't looked at it recently, but both of those games are coming out around that same time. And Phil Spencer was asked point blank. He's like, yeah, those games, we're going to honor that. You know, they had their deal. We'll let them do that and we'll get the game in like a year or whatever it will be. But that's interesting because they say case by case basis. So do they put this out on other systems other than Xbox because they could really like get a lot of money back because they basically have the rights to these things. So I think I heard something like 70% of the sales goes back to them or something. So it's kind of funny if they were to put it on like their competitor Sony and they end up making money off of a Sony game. It's like, well, why wouldn't you do that? You know, it's interesting. What do you have to say about that, JT?
I mean, I don't, whether or not they make exclusives or not doesn't really matter to me. They're all going to be on Game Pass day one for Xbox players anyway, and I think that's the most important part of this deal. But you have to remember too, Elder Scrolls didn't come to the PlayStation until Oblivion with the PlayStation 3.
Okay.
Elder Scrolls Arena, Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall, and Morrowind were all Windows, and then Morrowind was also on Xbox. So when you're really thinking about it, Bethesda has a really storied history with Microsoft, more so than they do with any other platform.
Yeah, and it's been said too, like Todd Howard, who is like the godfather of basically Bethesda, he pretty much was like, yeah, in an interview, like, yeah, we've been working with Microsoft for a long, long time. And they've been, you know, they've had stuff where it was like exclusive mods, I think, on Fallout 4 or some they've had deals like that where it's like it's coming to Xbox first, or it might not even come to PS3 or 4, whatever it was. But yeah, I mean, we look at other deals too to kind of like test out the future. Like, yeah, they made a deal with EA, but it didn't cost them $7 billion to put their games on Game Pass. Like, it's telling me that, look, Xbox has kind of had enough with Sony just gobbling up these awesome IPs and you know, having these awesome exclusives. That's all people were talking about this last generation. They kind of have to fight fire with fire. It kind of sucks. Yeah, it kind of sucks if you're a gamer that has been playing, you know, Fallout 4 and Skyrim on PS4, but I guess Xbox is like, okay, enough is enough. We might actually just put these exclusive because that's going to draw a large amount of the user base over to the Xbox.
Yeah.
And think about it, like it's very welcoming for the Xbox ecosystem now. Like you don't even have to have an Xbox to play the games anymore. You can literally play them on your phone or your PC too. So it'd be like, you know, $15 a month. You can get cloud gaming. That's like the new future of everything. But I mean, that's what it seems like to me is like they spent this money. They're gonna upset a lot of people, but in the long run, like, hey, Sony had Spider-Man, and that used to be on all the systems, and they kind of like made that exclusive to Sony. So same could be said. Same could be said about that, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, even for Skyrim and Fallout 4, if you look at the community mods on console for both games, the mods that are available on console on Xbox totally blow the PS4 mods out of the water. Like, so
Yeah.
I mean, what if you're talking about consoles and you say Bethesda, I think Xbox.
That,
You
yeah,
know.
it kind of comes to my mind first too, and you got to look from their perspective as well. Like, if they only have to develop it on really like two different systems, they can make these games possibly even better. They can squash a lot more bugs. They don't have to go across three different platforms. PC and Xbox Series X. I'm gonna go ahead and say that the architecture of both of those different platforms is probably going to be closer than ever this generation. I mean, they're both using the same
Yeah.
hardware. They're both using SSDs. They're both using the same kind of like architecture for the GPUs, it seems like. So I think it'd be a lot more efficient for them to just say, okay, we're going to stick to just Xbox and PC, and they're pretty interchangeable when developing. I mean, I don't develop games ever, but that's kind of the stuff I've heard over the last couple months. How games maybe work. Do you have anything to say about that, Johnny?
I do just want to say you guys have mentioned Fallout quite a few times,
Hmm.
along with Skyrim. And I personally think that the bigger title out of those two that people are most excited for will be Elder Scrolls rather
Yeah.
than the next Fallout. And that's mostly due to because of just the terrible launch for Fallout 76.
Oh,
It just
true.
left a really bad taste in the fans, for the fans, with Bethesda and the Fallout series, including myself, honestly. Um, so I feel like that title for Bethesda coming to just Xbox, I don't think a lot of people will be as upset about that. Um, but the Elder Scrolls, like we were saying, that's going to be a big one, just because, like you guys said, with the mods for it. I mean, I still to this day have not beaten Skyrim, and it's just because there's so much to do. And then once they added the mods, it was just like I'd rather just fool around with that than play the story at this point because it just made it that much better.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I
yeah.
I've
actually never messed
I've
around with the mods ever on Fallout, or I mean
yeah.
on Elder Scrolls.
Um,
I've completed Skyrim once on the original release on the 360, and I haven't beaten it again for that reason. It's too fun to just mess around with everything else that's in there. Sometimes you want to make a character that's like role played to be like just part of certain quest lines that doesn't do the main quest at all. So you just never finish the game. So,
Yeah, these
but
these large
that's
open
one of
worlds.
the good things about Elder Scrolls, though. It gives you that kind of freedom. Same thing with Fallout before Fallout 4, but hopefully with the extra funding they'll get from Xbox,
Hmm.
they can squash a lot of those bugs and a lot of those
they need to
issues.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's another game we haven't mentioned yet, and it's called Starfield, and that's like their new IP for the first time in years. This is pretty much said to be sort of like Elder Scrolls or Fallout in space. So I think out of all their top tier, when I say top tier, I'm talking about Fallout, Elder Scrolls, and this game. I think
Yeah.
that one's coming out probably soonest because they've been talking about this for a couple years. Again,
Hmm.
this is not confirmed for certain platforms, but obviously it's going to be on Series X and PC at this point. So I mean, I'm excited about that because it's like, okay, now you have Xbox, like you said, that can put more resources in to making this game great. So we don't know anything about this. The funny part is now that Xbox bought Bethesda, we're not gonna get those epic stages at E3, those press conferences that Bethesda used to have. So now the Xbox E3 briefing, whenever that'll happen again, who knows what form that'll take with what's going on, is going to be just even longer because now they're going to have to talk about all the Bethesda games coming out.
My God, yeah. Well, I mean, from Pete Hines himself, in an interview with Game Informer, Bethesda is still Bethesda. So, you know, hopefully we can still get those over the top stage, you know, stage reveals and whatnot.
Yeah, like they always had some cool bands playing and stuff, like on these crazy like 360-degree stages. Like they really put a lot of money in those things. All right, with that being said, we are going to move on to topic number 2, and that was just the first big bit of news for this week. Now we are getting into pre-orders for the Xbox Series S and X. Went on sale on Tuesday, and man, oh man, they were planning for this to be better than the PS5 that just came out of nowhere on the day that the hardware got revealed or whatever. But Xbox
Yeah.
didn't seem to have quite as much stability either. So tell me, guys, what was your stories? Did either of you try to pre-order a Series S or an X?
Um,
You can go, GT.
yeah. What time did they? Was it 11? Was it
was
11 or
11
10 a.m.
o'clock
Eastern?
Eastern time.
Yeah. So I did get on to try to pre-order right when they opened, which I've learned is not the thing to do anymore. You definitely want to you definitely want to wait a little bit. But yeah, I tried. Oh my, it was such a mess for like 45 minutes. Store crashed. You tried to check out at Target, and you would put it in your. There would be nothing in your cart, and you would add it to your cart, and it would be like, oh, you can only have, each customer can only have one of these, and I'm like, it's not even in my cart yet.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
and then like it would get in your cart, and then I would go to check out, and it would be like, oh no, it's not in your cart, and I was like, okay. And then Walmart sold out almost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
GameStop had this really annoying temporary like queue web page, and it's like, hey, don't leave this web page, you're in a queue. If you leave and come back, you're gonna get set behind whoever else comes in before you. And I'm like, I'm getting a digital console anyway, I'm done with GameStop. So I just gave up on that. And I think it was like, I don't know, it must have been a little bit after noon. You actually messaged us on the group message, and you were like, hey, I got it to work, and I got on immediately.
Yep.
And I was able to snag one. So that was relieving to know
Yeah.
that I'll be, getting one, or not early, but at release at least.
Yeah. What about you, Johnny?
So unfortunately, with everything with COVID going on, I actually just started school as well. So money's been a little tight.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to pre-order one like I wish or would want to. But when I do find the funds eventually, I 100% plan on jumping on the S version, the all digital, because like JT said, I'm just done with GameStop. I don't want to have to rely on physical copies anymore or anything like that. And I know we're going to talk about this a little later on, but I was looking at my library just the other day, and more than half of my games are all on the Game Pass and stuff like that. So at this point, why am I going to pay more for a system, for a feature that I don't even use anymore, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Johnny, you brought up a really good point. So yeah, with things going on, money's tight for a lot of people, but there really isn't a reason to rush out and buy these things. I'll be honest, I don't really need the thing. But I just got caught up in the hype engine that, you're on social media, everybody's saying, oh, I'm buying this, because really, Halo's not coming out at launch. So there's no reason to rush out there and buy this thing. Okay, and the same could be said for the PS5, right? All those games are going to be able to be played on PS4 from my knowledge. So people, it's the new shiny technology. Of course, people want it, but really, do you need it right now? Nah, not really. I mean, yeah, the Series S is a great price point at $299. I mean, you really can't beat it for the tech that's inside of that thing. They are really making that at a loss. Like, they are losing at least like probably $300, if not more, by selling that thing as cheap as it is. But yeah, it really comes down to the value of it. And going forward, it's gonna be interesting to see like how many people get the S over the X with how things are. Like if you don't have a 4K TV or if you don't really care about using a 4K TV, you might as well just go with the S because you're going to save about, $200 on that thing. So,
Which is
Yeah.
another reason why I decided to go with the S2. I don't plan on getting a 4K TV anytime soon.
yeah, yeah. So my story, it kind of overlaps with JT's a little bit because yeah, I was also at work, and at that point, like I was when I found out the news about Bethesda, and I was like, okay, I just gotta take a break real fast and try to get on this thing, and I was actually gonna go to GameStop, but then I realized I was looking on social media and people were putting up images of them being outside of GameStops, and they have signs that say, a check box next to the Series S and a check box next to the Series X, and like the S had like a 2 and the X had like a 4. Like they were literally only having like 2 to 4 systems at each GameStop, and I said, forget about it. I'll waste
Wow.
time going there because, there's probably been people waiting since like midnight, to wait in line to get that crap. So I said, you know what? Let me go to Microsoft.com because that's where I got my Xbox One. It's still right next to me right now from 5 years ago. I got the Elite Series Xbox One, and it came in right on time. I had good experiences with the Microsoft Store. They sent that system out the day it came out. I was very happy with it. Obviously no dings in the boxes or anything, so it was all right. So I gave Microsoft another chance, and there I am. I'm waiting. I get in real quick. The problem is I'm like adding it to cart, and it's just not updating the cart. The cart still says 0. I go to cart, and it's like nope. And this is like now 20 minutes after 11 o'clock. I'm like, oh, this thing's sold out. Like I'm not gonna get it. And at one point I was in the group chat. I was just like, all right, guys, I'm coming to terms that I really don't need this thing. If I don't get it now, it's really not a big deal. And at that point, I gave up. I was like, screw this. Like, I'll wait till like after I'll wait till the year's over and get it, hopefully next year or something. And then I was just like working for another 45 minutes. I like pulled up my phone on that tab that I had the card open, and it populated the card instantly. And that's when I said to JT, like, yo, I actually got this thing. And then it took another like 10 minutes because everybody was trying to do it. So like the spinny wheel of me trying to update the credit card and put it in there. And then at the same time, my phone was down to like 4% battery. I'm like, oh God, I'm not going to be able to buy it in time before the phone dies on me. And I barely got in, but I got the confirmation email, whether or not they send me the thing, because there's been lots of things at least with Amazon saying that people receive like an email saying they might not get it after all. So luckily I'm still good. I haven't got anything from Microsoft. So I'm like, all right, they're the people that make the system. Do you think they would be on top of, having the amount of allotment for pre-orders to be what they actually have?
Yeah.
So I think the news with Bethesda the day before really sparked a lot more people to buy the Xbox because they seen that, and instantly everybody's like, oh my God, I'm not gonna be able to play Elder Scrolls probably if I don't get an Xbox. So it was like brilliant tactician move by Xbox to just put that out there the day before to kind of stoke the fires to get people hyped up even more, because man, I've been really excited ever since that announcement. And yeah, if I was on the fence, I knew a lot of people that were on the fence about getting that PS5. And then you're like, you know what? I could actually wait on the PS5 and just play the games on the PS4 for now and get an Xbox Series S or something,
Oh yeah. I mean, you remember how I was on the last one of these that I did with you. You remember, my stances. I was kind of on the fence on both of them. I was still defending Sony on a lot of stuff. But I mean, you saw, my slider go from the middle all the way to Xbox during all this. I mean, just the price point on the S, between that, Game Pass, and as soon as I found out that Spider-Man Miles Morales was going to be and the next Horizon Zero Dawn game, as soon as I found out that those were going to be playable on the PS4, I was like, there's no reason to buy a PS5. Like, there is zero reason to buy a PS5 until there's, a brand new next gen game that's worth buying. And for me, that's going to be God of War whenever that comes out.
Okay,
So I've got easily over a year before I do that.
I was gonna say a lot of people are actually pointing to Ratchet and Clank because I did see the game demo for that. I was pretty impressed by like all the particle stuff flying around and the portals. That now that looks like it's an actual built from the ground up PS5
Oh
game.
yeah, yeah. I mean, no disrespect to Ratchet and Clank. It's a great series. You know, it's a classic, beloved PlayStation 2 series. But it's not. Ratchet and Clank isn't worth the $500 for the console. You know, to me.
Yeah,
It's like hearing the news about the new Crash Bandicoot that they're coming out with. I forget the name of it right now, but it is a cool game. It's like touching on nostalgia, but at the end of the day, to me, it's not something that's like I need to get this right now.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I
It,
mean, like even the Demon Souls remake, like
mhm.
that's a huge thing, but it was already on the PS3. You know, it's an old game. It's just a remake, and there's dozens of Souls-like games out there. So, you know, is $70 for Demon Souls really worth the $400 or $500 console? You know?
Mm-hmm. And it's like looking back through the history, has there ever, well, there probably has been a few instances of like you had to get the system day one. Because I mean, most people say there
Yeah.
hasn't really been like huge games where you had to have the system day one. I mean, I'll go back to the GameCube because guys, if you watch the channel, I'm a huge Star Wars fanatic. So I seen Rogue Squadron was on GameCube. I played it at Kmart. I said, "We got to get this system, Dad." I was like 8 years old or whatever it was back then. It's like, all right, yeah, I buy the system to buy the game. I don't think there's really a system seller right now for any of these systems.
No, no, there's not. And I
Well,
mean, this is the first time I'm getting a console day one as well. I mean, I was like a year behind the ball with the Xbox One, and I didn't get a PS4 until like 2 or 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So this is definitely the first time I'm jumping on the ball for day one.
Well, I'm curious. You mentioned JT, the new Horizon game, and I don't really follow Sony news or the exclusives or anything like that, really. But I do recall hearing that the previous Horizon title is actually playable now on PC,
Mm-hmm.
which means they just
Yes.
lost that exclusive title. Do they plan on doing that with the second one coming out?
It's gonna
Um,
be on PS4. I could tell you that much.
it is going to be on PS4. If it's anything like Horizon Zero Dawn was with when it comes to PC, it's going to be a good 3 or 4 years
Yeah.
before it comes to PC. Because again, Horizon Zero Dawn is like 3 or 4 years old at this point. So, you know,
Yeah, it's like, and it's crazy though, because like the sales numbers came out from August, and I think it was either the first or the second best selling game on Steam of that month. Like Sony,
Wow.
like they know how to put these games out. There's no arguing that because they're gonna want people to buy the PlayStation first, so they'll wait like 3 or 4 years, and they'll get all those other people that don't have the PlayStations to buy a huge wave of these games, and they just like make almost like double the profit or something if they wait just a little bit longer. Like I'm the same person. I was like, oh, I might buy Horizon. I was actually thinking about buying it, but then like all these other games like Tony Hawk and stuff came out, so I was like, maybe later. But I mean, it's pretty brilliant. I mean, Sony and what Xbox are doing are completely different. Sony's still using like the exclusivity and the console selling as their main means of like getting the market share. Where, as we're gonna talk later, we keep referencing it. Game Pass is like what Xbox they're trying to build an ecosystem, not so much just exclusivity on consoles. So
hmm
that's kind of what they're doing. So it's console wars sorta, but are they really when there are almost like two different tactics going on? It's basically not like Sega and Nintendo. I know there's this like huge documentary going around. I don't know if
uh,
you guys have heard of it. The console wars they call it. It's supposed to be good.
Oh,
yeah, I think I've.
where can you find that? I haven't heard about that.
It's actually on CBS All Access, which I don't have, which is why I haven't seen it yet. Another streaming channel which I don't have. Um, we're gonna carry on here to topic number 3. We are going to be talking about this proprietary technology, the 1 terabyte expansion cards that are coming back to Xbox, like from back in the day, 1 terabyte, they're gonna cost $219. What do you guys have to say about expanded memory for that much money? Do you think it's
That
much,
is
or do you think
way
it's?
too much.
I
That is
know
just
JT
way
has a
too
lot to
much.
say about this.
Yeah, I'm the only one of us three that actually pre-ordered mine. I pre-ordered it from my local Best Buy, but I mean, you're getting premium technology for a premium price. That's all I can say about it. I mean, um, you need this NVMe SSD technology to run your next gen games. So, you know, to me, it's kind of there's really no option for it.
Hmm.
You can't run your next gen games off of your um, external HDDs that we have for the Xbox One right now. I mean, you can store them on there, but you
Hmm.
can't play them off of there. And any backwards compatible game, like any Xbox or 360 or Xbox One game that's still on your external hard drive, um, they can run off of there. But if you store them on the new SSD, either internal or this expansion card, you're going to get that 40 times faster, load times that they're talking about. You're going to get that next gen speed that you're paying for.
Yeah, so they have this velocity architecture. They call it with the CPU and with the just loading of everything, and it's insane. Like if there's a video out there you guys can watch, like comparing the Xbox One S to the Xbox One Series S, and it's like at least like a 45-second difference between loading into an Outer Worlds level on the next gen versus the old gen. It's crazy, the way
Wow.
they're able to render everything much quicker. They have that like smart, not smart delivery, but like quick resume. It just like instantly, like if like they should, like somebody playing Jedi Fallen Order, then like Forza, that a couple, like they went through like 4 or 5 games, and then they went back to Jedi Fallen Order, and then it picked up exactly where he left off like instantly. So if you guys are huge into like playing multiple games at once, I typically kind of like play one game through and kind of go through like on a laundry list. But I know a lot of gamers like to have the variety and jump back and forth between games, and it being that convenient is huge. So yeah, you're gonna need to have that SSD. So it's just, that Xbox created this thing specifically for it. I think PS5 might have like proprietary tech for their hard drive, but they haven't talked about it a lot. Um, but that's
Yeah.
just how it is. And remember, like memory, it gets so much cheaper over time. So it might cost $220 this year, and 2 years from now it might be down to like 150. So if you guys are like outraged by the price, just wait a little bit. Yeah, you might have to delete a gamer here or there, but I mean, it might get a little dicey if you have the Series S, because it does only have 512 gigabytes of storage. But they did say that the games that are running on the Series S, since they're not going to be 4K resolution, are going to be like 30% less storage capacity on the hard drive. So, yeah, it's not going to be like a 1-to-1 ratio of those games and how much will take up on each system, but you might be able to get maybe like 5 or 6 games. I'm hoping, at least on the S at one
Yeah.
time. So,
Yeah. I mean, my justification for it is right now, I think I got like a 1.5 or 2 terabyte external hard drive. Right now, that is at like 90 something percent full. Um, so between that library and the next gen titles that are going to be available on Game Pass, like even ones that you buy, like I need that extra space as much as possible, um, because my library is just so huge already. Like,
hmm.
so I really don't have much other option for that.
I'm kind of in the same boat with you, JT. Chris, you mentioned how some gamers jump from game to game, and unfortunately, I am one of those people. I'll sit down in an hour, I'll play through like 5 different games and get maybe like 10 minutes further in each game. So I'm probably gonna, as much as I don't want to or would like to, I'm probably gonna end up buying buying that just because you need the space, just with the size of games too nowadays. 30% does sound like a lot, but 30% of like the Master Chief Collection, which is like 120 gigs,
Yeah.
that's still
You
gonna
know.
take up a lot of space on your
Yeah.
system.
30% less on the Master Chief Collection, 30% less, on GTA 5 or Red Dead Redemption 2. Like
Yup.
you're still talking about like probably 60 plus gigabytes for one game,
Yeah.
and that takes up space quick. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm pretty excited. Bungie put out a post about Destiny 2 where they're, I don't know if you've seen about this, JT or Johnny, where they're actually going to make people reinstall the game because they're consolidating the engine to actually be using a lot less space. So at least those games, that's the game I'm playing day one. When I get my S, that's the first thing I'm downloading is Destiny 2 Beyond Light on Game Pass, the latest expansion on
Yeah.
November 10th. So that game's gonna
Yeah.
go from, I guess, like 100 gigs down to like 65 to 70. So like good. Like hopefully like more games are not like Call of Duty Modern Warfare where they're like over 100 gigabytes
Oh
per
yeah,
patch.
Yeah.
that's another huge one. That is another huge
Like
one.
I don't understand. It's like one map. Okay, it's a gigantic map, but like how is it taking 100 gigs? That's insane. It's just a multiplayer game. It's not like it's World of Warcraft where they have to like render like 10 years or 15 years worth of games and they still somehow do it. Everything's still in the game. I don't know how they do it, but yeah, that boggles my mind with Call of Duty. So hopefully like next gen does not take up that kind of space or else we're doomed.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to a more compact file sizes for
Mhm.
next gen.
And it's funny because it's like we're going back in time. Like that used to be the big deal. Like the PlayStation memory cards or like whatever. Like the Xbox had fancy. The original Xbox had these like really fancy memory cards you put in the controller. So it's kind of fun because it's almost like we're going back in time to get these like
Yeah.
little cool cards you can carry in your pocket or something.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
good because they're both connected, right? Like if I do upgrade to like a Series X in the future, both
You
the
can.
S and the X are interchangeable. So all my games
Yeah.
will go right in the system.
Yep. Just pop one out. Pop it out of the S, put it in the X, and you're good. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the next topic and the last topic, which is one of my favorites, and that is Game Pass. So begun the streaming wars have, because this is really what is going to happen over the next couple of years is we're getting multiple platforms are starting up. We just had the announcement of Amazon starting up their Luna system, which is going to be very similar to Game Pass. But going back to the first topic, I mean, you get Bethesda games on Game Pass day one and date for when they release. Like that's just incredible value. Game Pass
Yeah.
Ultimate is $14.99 a month, and you also get access to cloud gaming, which I've been playing around with. I think I sent JT something about how crazy I was going when I was playing Sea of Thieves on a tablet. Like that to me was just insane how that technology was working, and it's only going to get better. I mean, yeah, I was working on a slower internet connection, but like I can see them ironing out things, and there's a lot more potential. So Johnny, you're already talking about like 50% of your games on Game Pass, man. Like I agree. Like I have been running this list on Twitter. Every game I complete, I've been putting it on my Twitter big ass thread I have. I got to update that because there's another game or two that I've beaten since. But yeah, most of those games I'm playing through Game Pass. Like I'm playing Shadow of War, which I already owned, but then I realized, oh, it's a Game Pass game anyway.
Yeah.
It's like half the games are on there now.
Yeah. Well, that's the one frustrating thing to me about Game Pass is like you'll buy a game when it comes out and like a month later it'll come to Game Pass and you'll just be like, "Really? Like I just bought that and now I can, but yeah.
It's funny because within a week after the big announcement with Bethesda, Doom Eternal got announced to be out on October 1st, which is this upcoming Thursday. It's like, that did
Yeah.
not take long. I'm happy I didn't buy Doom. Now, mind you, I would buy Doom Eternal with my own money. I bought the original Doom with my own money. And
Yeah.
like Johnny says, he loves Doom. I loved Doom 2016. It was just that awesome feeling of being that hyper fast, like real quick, snappy, brutal kills with everything, like
Mhm.
just the way that the game worked gameplay wise, where you have to be like you're the monster that they're stuck in the room with. Like you actually are getting the health from killing them. It's not like cover based. Like you're trying to kill things as fast as you can. That gameplay is just so much damn fun. So I'm looking forward to diving in. Doom Eternal. I'm gonna stick to playing it on PC. Now they said they were gonna put it on Xbox first, and later in 2020 they'll put it on PC, which I'm fine with because I have like 5 other games on my agenda for the rest of the year anyway. So that might be like my first game in 2021 or something like that. But I mean, what's the latest game that you guys have played on Game Pass? Or the most recent game, not like the most latest one that came out, but any game really.
The most recent game. Well, I know I re-downloaded Remnant. I forget what the rest of the title.
From the Ashes.
From the
something like
Ashes,
that.
yeah.
Oh,
Remnant from the Ashes. I just re-downloaded that. I re-downloaded State of Decay 2,
oh yeah, I played
and
that.
I downloaded Pillars of Eternity. So, those are I'm gonna get to those soon after whenever I get through the current Tony Hawk Pro Skater
Yep.
phase that
Same
I'm on
here.
right now. But yeah,
What about you,
I mean,
Johnny? Oh, go ahead.
definitely Halo probably play the most though of the
Mhm.
Game Pass games.
Mm-hmm.
So for me personally, like I just told you, I've got that problem where I jump between a lot of games. So like the few games, I'll only list a few of them. I won't list all of them. The few that I'm bouncing between that are all on Game Pass. Fallout 76. I just recently got back into that. It's my first time playing again since the Wastelanders update,
Oh
which
yeah.
I think they did a lot better job
Okay.
with the game.
Yeah.
It definitely needed the AI in the game. It just gives it more life. They added a few more quality of life things, like small things, but it makes a big impact in the game. So I've actually been enjoying that a lot
Oh,
recently.
okay.
Don't Starve is another one that I've been bouncing to.
That's more
Um,
like that indie-ish game, right? Like it's like an
yeah,
indie game. Yeah.
it's like a hard survival game where you
Mm-hmm.
gotta like build shelter, you gotta
Mm-hmm.
find food, water. There's like a whole sanity thing to
Yeah.
it. So if you're in the dark, you'll start going crazy and see monsters that can kill you. So it's a really hard game, but I enjoy that kind of stuff. And then Forza's another one that's been on the Game Pass since it came out, and that's just I always just love going on there. I got myself the little steering wheel and
Oh, you
pedals
do?
too, so
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
it's so much fun
Oh.
to just go on there and just cruise around the map like joyriding, basically.
Oh, so
I don't
you're
even
talking
I don't
about
even do
Horizon.
races.
You're
What's
talking
that?
about Horizons.
Forza Horizon 4.
Yeah. Okay. Because like
Yeah.
people either like Motorsport or they like Horizon. So I mean I personally like Horizon. Like you, I played that Horizon 4 for like a day or two because these awesome games come out so close to each other. I'm like, I have to like do like, all right, I'm spending a whole day on this game, and then I gotta spend a whole another day on this game, and I try to come back to some of these games like in January and February when there's not a whole lot coming out. But yeah, Forza's great, and let's talk about real quick. They're making the next Fable game, Playground Games. Those guys are using what they learned from open worlds in Forza Horizon to actually make another great Western RPG for Xbox. Like if you're a fan of RPGs, the Western RPGs, like I'm a fan of, like I just can't get into JRPGs. I was never a big Final Fantasy fan or Disgaea, whatever those, Dragon Quest. Never really gravitated to those games, but I've always liked the Mass Effects, those big fantasies like Dragon Age and stuff like that. And so to see that they're actually really doubling down on all those games, and you mentioned Obsidian, JT, about how they have Pillars of Eternity. I jumped into what was the other game they made recently? I'm confusing it with Wasteland 3 with In Exile, which is also another fantastic game that I only played for a day, and I want to go back to it. Outer Worlds, and they're going to be creating Avowed, which is funny because that was like their take on Elder
Oh
Scrolls.
yeah, I forgot about that.
They're Obsidian's making Avowed, and it was like the answer to Elder Scrolls. And now there's also going to be Elder Scrolls under the first party of Microsoft. So it's like we're getting the best of both worlds. We're getting all these RPGs, and I'm like, fantasy, yeah, it's going to be
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, Xbox is going to be the home of the RPG, or the Western RPG at least,
Mhm,
for sure.
mhm. And I just
For
mentioned
sure.
this because since we're talking about Game Pass, this is another big deal.
Oh
EA,
yeah,
the EA Play.
you just mentioned Mass Effect and Dragon Age, which are both EA, and the EA Play deal with Game Pass, so they're going to be all playable through Game Pass too.
Yeah, so they're gonna have over 60 games. You know, you're gonna have a lot of pretty much all the sport games. Now, I don't think they're the
Mhm.
most current versions because EA Play basically has two tiers. It's like EA Play, which is the lower tier, and then you have EA Unlimited or whatever the other EA Premier, whatever that one is. So you're not
Yeah,
gonna get Jedi Fallen Order. You're not gonna get Madden 21 or whatever the latest one is, but you're gonna get all the other games like Battlefront and Battlefield 5 and like all their big hits from like maybe a year ago or a little longer than a year. But that
I don't
just
know if
kind
I'd
of
call
yeah.
Battlefield 5 a big hit. I'm just going to correct you there. That was a little sloppy for them.
Really? I heard about this from multiple people. Why didn't you like it?
Oh, the launch of that game, it just had almost nothing in it. There were like no
Oh,
game modes. It was
wow.
like about a year before they finally finished the campaign for the
Huh.
game. It just was
yeah,
very lackluster, and I'm a huge Battlefield fan. Just like how there's the console war, I always felt like there was a war between Call of Duty or Battlefield,
Yeah.
and I felt like Battlefield 5 was a huge step back for them. That really hurt them.
yeah.
Mm.
Battlefield's been going downhill since after Battlefield 4 for sure. I
Yeah.
think 4 was the start of the downhill uh, fall.
Hmm. And it's interesting because I mentioned Modern Warfare, whatever. Oh, the Cold War is the new Call of Duty coming out this year. And I've always
Hmm.
been a fan of Black Ops, but man, I seen the multiplayer trailer. I was like, wait, is this the same game as Call of Duty? Because it looks like it's Battlefield because they have like all this vehicle combat in Call of Duty now, which I don't think
Yeah,
they've had before, at least not recently, not in regular multiplayer modes. I mean, obviously it's a big staple to have in Warzone when you're on a huge ass map, but to
yeah,
have like people on jet skis now and little snowmobiles in like a regular multiplayer match, I'm like, okay, this is basically Battlefield now.
I think
yeah,
the last time they had vehicles in a multiplayer game that I can recall was actually World at War.
Same, yeah, with
yeah,
tanks.
I remember there being some, like maybe 2 or 3 maps tops, and it was just tanks. So to see
yeah,
them try to like go back into that and, like you said, add even more vehicles, I am excited for that. It might replace Battlefield for me.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
you know, this kind of opens up the door with Xbox because they have that deal with EA, which is a huge deal. Like,
Hmm.
I didn't see that coming, honestly, because EA has had their own thing for now. It's like, okay, why would they go anywhere else? But so if EA, the biggest publisher on the planet, can do that, hey, maybe we'll get like an Activision. I could foresee there being like tabs on Game Pass. Like, okay, here's your EA tab, here's your Activision tab, here's your 2K tab with Red Dead and with Grand Theft Auto. Like, and you have all these little segments of Game Pass. And I mean, everybody's, I think, going to be jumping on board because they went up from 10 million players to 15 million players in like, I think, under 6 months. And
Yeah.
that's like
Wow.
before the new systems are out. So you can say, like, I think it'd be in the best interest of Microsoft and to bundle in maybe like 2 or 3 months with every Xbox. Like, all right, come join our ecosystem, see what Game Pass is about, because it's freaking awesome. And if you're a consistent gamer, there's no reason why
Yeah.
you should not have Game Pass.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my One S did come with 3 months of Game Pass Ultimate for like
Really?
$1 a month. Um, so
Oh,
yeah, I have a feeling that the new consoles are gonna come with are definitely gonna come with something like that, like a month free, 3 months for a cheaper monthly cost or something.
hmm.
You know.
So we have three big competitors. I'm gonna leave out the mobile entries in this, but we have three big competitors in the stream wars, as I like to call them, and other people have been calling it. You have Stadia, Google Stadia, right? It's definitely the one that's least wanted, I think, right now with how their subscription is based off of you having to pay for a subscription, which I think is $10 or $15 a month, And then you have to buy the games a la carte. So if you want to play Destiny 2, you have to pay like $40 extra on top of that monthly charge that you're going for, which is really just not good when you're looking at Game Pass when you don't have to pay for
Yeah.
any extra with the games. And then you have, like I was saying, Amazon Luna. They have a very similar approach to Game Pass, but they also have these things called channels. So with Amazon Luna, you're going to pay into a subscription, a base subscription, which is called Luna Plus, which is going to be $5.99 a month. And then they have channels. So the first one that they announced is going to be Ubisoft. So you're going to have to pay an additional charge for the Ubisoft channel, which will be really cool though, because you're going to get the games day and date with when they're released physically. So you're going to get your Assassin's Creed Valhalla the day it comes out for no extra charge if you have the Ubisoft channel. So very similar to Game Pass, same kind of deal there. They also said it's not going to be beholden to just having channels on publishers. They're going to have channels that are dedicated to specific genres. Like they could have a best of RPGs channel, which you could pay like maybe $3 or $4. I don't know the prices. I'm just throwing some number out there. So it's kind of like you choose what kind of plan you have with what kind of like games you like to play. So I think that's a really cool idea. Plus the more details about Amazon Luna, which was literally announced maybe 3 or 4 days ago. They also have the option of playing on iOS, which has been a really big point in gaming right now. When Xbox can't have Game Pass on iOS, Amazon somehow has found a way to do it on a web page through a browser. You can play these Amazon games that way. And then you're also going to have a new controller for Amazon Luna, which is going to connect somehow directly to the cloud through your router. So its latency is going to be greatly reduced than actually having like your Bluetooth controller. And it also has like the offset control. It looks basically almost like an Xbox controller, and it does have Alexa programmed in. So you could be like, start Assassin's Creed, and it'll just pull it up instantly. And you can also play on PC, which is the next point I want to talk about, because you're going to be able to stream games to your PC. So if you're on like a 10-year-old laptop, you can actually play these games and it'll look pretty good, because you can actually stream at like 4K 60 if you have fast internet enough, and you can have up to two people on Luna Plus playing on the same account, different games. So I think that's pretty cool, and I think that's very attractive for what Amazon is setting up to do. Like this thing was not even on my radar, but I'm looking at it like, oh, this could be a really good competitor for Xbox, and it's good to have competition because that's what makes innovation for each platform as they go along. So
it's good to have competition, but I did notice, I was doing a little research on the Luna, and I saw an article talking about how they came out and said, now this might change in the future, but they're not going to be focused on exclusive titles for it. It's just going to be titles you can get anywhere else too, which I feel like might hurt them just a little bit, because the Stadia, I'm not entirely certain with this, but I'm assuming the Stadia will have some sort of exclusive titles for it. So the Luna not having anything special, any special games just to that, might turn off a few people from it, you know?
Yeah, and I think because you know what it is? It's Amazon. So they're not necessarily going after the hardcore gamer. I would think with what Amazon is trying to do is they got this huge market share on like the whole world just going on to shopping. So they might not get those hardcore gamers on this platform, but I can see them getting people that wouldn't necessarily play games. Like another cool feature is you're going to be able to play these games through the Amazon Fire Stick, which I believe is like one of the most owned devices. I have a couple in my house already. So that's a really cool feature. And this brings me into like the next conversation about how Xbox can kind of implement with what Amazon is doing to what they're doing with Game Pass. I think they could eventually maybe come out with like their own version of like a US or an HDMI little plug-in they could put in on any TV and turn it into a Game Pass TV, because I think they could do like a little bundle and like maybe package in an Xbox controller with the little adapter to the TV. And there you go. You can just plug it into any TV. It's highly portable. They'll give you a controller, maybe a bundle in like 3 months right off the bat with Game Pass for like, I don't know, they could just charge like $99 for that or something like that. And like, boom, that's your entry point. You don't have to have an Xbox, but now you have access to the full library, the full catalog. As long as you have decent internet, you're good to go.
Yeah, kind of like the Steam box or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because they're trying to really expand this.
Like an Xbox, but not an Xbox, because it's literally just Game Pass. You know, the Game Pass box or something. You know.
Yeah, and even with going back to Amazon Luna real quick, um, what's to say that Game Pass? I know people already mentioned this. Maybe Game Pass has a channel on the Amazon Luna. Like that might be able to happen somehow. Like, okay,
Maybe.
if you have a Xbox Ultimate, you can play on Amazon Luna or something, or you can if you're a Prime member, you get some kind of money off or something like that. And then they could even have like a Sony channel because like Sony's been so silent through all this streaming stuff, and that's like honestly where I think the future of gaming is for a lot of different reasons. Like maybe they don't want to work on their own platform, but they'll make a deal with Amazon saying, "Hey, we'll do all our games on there."
Yeah.
Same
Well,
with
the reason
Nintendo.
that PlayStation doesn't say anything about their, game streaming is because they have PS Now, and PS Now is bad.
Yeah, what the
um,
heck?
PS Now is not good. The only games that you can download from PS Now are like the newest games, which doesn't make sense. Like any older games that like aren't popular, you have to stream, and the latency really isn't that great from what I experienced. Like the input lag
Mm-hmm.
between it isn't really that great.
Uh-oh.
Um, PS Now does not compete with Game Pass or anything else, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
Does
I mean that.
PS Now have a subscription fee to it? I haven't really heard much about
yes,
PS Now from
yeah,
people. Is
yeah,
it same
There
price
is.
as the Game Pass? Do they have a
yeah.
bundle where you get the live subscription as well with it for just a little bit more?
I don't believe it's bundled with PS Plus, but there is its monthly cost is about the same as what Game Pass originally was. Like regular Game Pass, not Game Pass Ultimate.
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But again, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it, in my opinion.
Mm. And that's just and I mentioned earlier like the mindsets of Sony versus Xbox. You have Xbox that's being very consumer friendly and really going after the large market. Like, hey, you can get in on yeah, we might have exclusive games coming out, but you can get in on them for just $15 a month, or whatever. If you don't even have an Xbox, you can get that cloud service gaming there, and boom, you're playing
Yeah.
our games right then and there. You got the
Yeah.
full functionality of your friends list, everything's on there. You're
I
good to
mean,
go.
they're even getting $15 a month from people who are just playing on PC, like that don't even have consoles.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, they're not trying to sell next gen consoles. They're selling us Game Pass, and it's working. Like,
Yep.
there's no console war this generation because they're not pushing their console. They're pushing Game Pass, and they won already.
Yeah.
In my,
It's hard to compete, and we mentioned it a couple minutes ago, but like, what the heck is Google Stadia gonna do to answer both of these awesome streaming options that are coming out? Like, they're back in the Stone Age already with what their perception of what the market needs. So it's like, how do they course correct, or if they even course correct? Because like, who's gonna want to sign up for that when these other deals are infinitely better?
It seems like they're just only going to be playing catch up, be behind everyone.
yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because it's Google. So Google's obviously huge. Like it's a big portion of the internet, and to see them kind of misstep from the start is just ooh man. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's funny because they put out they had like a press briefing or something like during the E3 stuff that was going on, and like they were hyping up games that were going to be released on Stadia that came out like a year before. They were making such a big deal out of Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. Like, dude, that game came out like a year ago. Like, you guys got to get some like more recent games or exclusives or something. It's I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if I would want to play a uh, a game as precise as you have to be in Sekiro through streaming. I don't think that's a good pair.
Yeah, now there's certain experiences that I won't do. Like I've tested out a lot of games. I played, Master Chief Collection, that's fine. But I played Gears of War 5 multiplayer on it and I was like, "No, this is not going to work." My
Yeah,
my reaction
yeah,
time is off a little bit.
yeah. I think streaming for now is definitely on the more casual side. Um, definitely not ready for any sort of fast-paced multiplayer or competitive,
Yeah,
community or
yeah.
anything.
And here's my last point I want to make about game streaming and why this could be really important for Xbox moving forward is, especially we were talking a little bit earlier in the episode about system storage space and how that's a big deal. Well, I think they could actually bring cloud surface gaming to the Xboxes themselves, so you can actually like try out games or even play the whole game if you wanted to, just streaming it to your Xbox. And if you want like a multiplayer game and want to make sure you're really precise, then you download the game. But if you're just playing like a single player game, you want to try it out, Game Pass is awesome because you have that flexibility of just going between different titles. And that's why I loved playing on the cloud service on my tablet, because I was like, oh, let me check into Shadow of War. Oh, let me check into Battletoads. And I would just jump in between game. It would take me like a minute to load each of these games because I didn't download them. They're not on my tablet. They're just being streamed through the air. So I think that's like a huge opportunity for Xbox to really take advantage of that. And you got to realize that has to be going on in the background, like being able to try games and then just download them once you like them for real. They already have a feature now. People were talking about how you could actually go on the app and you could download any game on Xbox to your console, even if you don't own it. And like you could download the whole game. So let's say you're awaiting like a physical release of Star Wars Squadrons or something. I think you can go on the app and pre-download the game and then come back, get the disc, put it in the system, and the disc acts like a security check, basically, just to be like, okay, you bought this game, we'll turn it on to
Yeah.
play now. So I think that's like a really
Yeah.
cool quality of life feature, because I always hated that. I'm like, oh, I go to pick up the game physically, but then I got to take another 3 hours to download the game, even though I have the disc. Like, I always hated that.
Yeah. It's almost like how MMOs handle their expansions.
Yep.
Like it updates and everyone has it and it's there, and then like you pay and you put in whatever and then it's unlocked for you.
Mm-hmm.
But like the space is already taken up. It's already there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that is cool.
Yeah. So there's a lot of
But
potential.
that's
Yep.
gonna be only if you have the Series X or an Xbox One that has a disc drive.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the S, you're just that's not
Yeah.
that's not part of the package that you're
It's
getting.
interesting. Like I said off the top, I'm just very curious to see like the ratio between people that have the digital version of the consoles versus the physical, because this is the first time we've ever had a launch where it's like you have options, and I like that you have options to choose what system you want to play. So I think it's good as gamers that we get those opportunities, because there's people in other countries that probably want to have the physical disc because the internet might not be the greatest or something like that. But for other people, they don't want to take up space that they don't have with cases anymore. So they're gonna stick to digital. I haven't really gotten any physical games since like 2017. Like that was my goal for this year, was to kind of play through all the games that I have built up in my backlog, so I don't have to like worry about getting them out of the game cases when I get the S, because I won't be able to play them anymore anyway. So
Yeah.
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 So
I've got my only physical games that I have left are a couple games I have on my Switch, and that's it.
oh,
Like
okay.
my PS4 is entirely digital. I have the all digital Xbox One S right now, so
I think the last physical game that I actually bought was the deluxe version for Borderlands 3. And
Oh.
that's only because I'm such a Borderlands fan. I like being able to hold it in my hands
Yeah.
and be like, I have it, But
Yeah.
other than that, any game that I just want to try or anything like that, it's just worth it more to buy it digitally.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention they have some wicked sales
Oh
online
yeah.
that you just can't find at GameStop, Best Buy, or anywhere else. And another great feature with the Game Pass is those games that are on there, if you do want to buy it eventually, you usually can buy it at a discounted price already.
Yeah.
yeah.
And they will let you know. They've been pretty good about it now recently. Like if you follow the Twitter of the Game Pass or whatever, they'll tell you like what games are leaving that month. So then you can kind of
Yeah.
take advantage, like, all right, I got to start playing through this game. Or if I'm not close, then maybe I'll buy it for cheaper. Like, it's a pretty cool deal. So.
I see those notifications on my phone all the time through the app. And it even tells you when they add new games too. Like
Yeah.
they just recently
Yeah.
re-added Vermintide 2, which
Oh,
is a
really?
fantastic game.
Yeah.
Yeah, they also added ODST to Halo Master Chief Collection, which is one of my favorite Halo games. It's awesome, so definitely check it out. They also have the Fire Team, I think it's called, or something like that, which is basically like Halo Horde mode.
Oh, Firefight.
Oh, yeah,
Firefight, there we
yeah.
go.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Destiny. Oh man, so that was an awesome conversation, all things Xbox. I want to thank you guys for joining me today. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it really was. Thanks for having me, man.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, man.
I mean, we're hyped up here. We got maybe about a month and a half before the release of Xbox Series S and Series X kicks things off with the next gen. So we will see how things fare out. I'm very excited to get into it. I know you guys are all too. Real quick, I want to see what you can tell the people about where they can find you online. Where can they find you online? I included your Twitter tags on this video, but if you want to say if you're anywhere else, you could do that too.
My Twitter tag, my Xbox gamer tag.
Oh, there you go.
You can find me anywhere with the same tag. Chief Joie Joie, crazy spelling, but I use the same name for everything, so it's easier to find me.
I was wondering how you pronounce that because I had no idea.
It's got quite a long story to it from years ago, but that's the name I've kept now.
Yeah, and again, mine's the same across all platforms. You know, that's my Twitter handle. It's my Xbox gamer tag. It's my PS4, my PS4 tag.
So there you go. For more things on Xbox, you guys can subscribe to this channel and let me know in the comment section below about all the topics we went through, from Bethesda to Game Pass to the new memory cards to all that good stuff. Let's talk about it in the comment section down below. That's going to do it for me, Johnny, and JT. Thanks everybody for watching, and bye-bye.
Thanks for checking out the video. Please hit that thumbs up symbol. It helps me know that I'm making content that you guys enjoy. And if you enjoyed this video, I also include 2 videos down below you guys should check out. And please consider subscribing to this channel. It helps support me, and it notifies you guys of when I get new videos up on the channel. You can also contact me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram @StarRed.